Hey, it's Matt Moscona. You found it, your home for all the latest news and conversation around your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. And this channel is powered by BetUS. Up to a 125% bonus on your first 3 deposits, up to $2,000. It's all at BetUS. The link is in the description on this video. Who dat? Saints practiced on Thursday, wheels up to Arizona on Friday. They'll play on Saturday. Our buddy Ross Jackson here for a Saints Camp Report. How are you, man?
Hey, buddy, doing great.
Hey, let me start with the news of the day. Saints extend Pete Werner. Thoughts?
Yeah, I think this is a solid move by New Orleans. It's not a huge contract, right? 3 years, about $25 million or so. But the thing that I love about it is that you're getting a little bit ahead on this position that has some major question marks in terms of what it's going to look like within a couple of years. And this kind of gives you a little bit of clarity, if you're the New Orleans Saints, through 2027 of at least what a part of your linebacker core is. They believe that Pete Werner is the guy that kind of exemplifies what it is that they want from their defense. He has the ability to learn to be a culture leader from Demario Davis. And now this kind of frees up the Saints to maybe look at Willie Gay next offseason instead of having to worry about both Pete Werner and then the potential re-signing of Willie Gay. So I think that this is a really good move by New Orleans to get a little bit ahead on the position and then get themselves one step closer to life after Demario Davis, which, look, you're going to have a drop-off at the position anytime you don't have Demario, but you might as well keep the guy around that has continuously learned from over the course of the past 4 years.
Don't know who's going to play in the game on Saturday. Best guess, just being around DA and around the organization, how they're going to approach this?
Yeah, I think if they do give Derek Carr and some of these other players a little bit of an opportunity to get out there, it's going to be short-lived. It's going to be about Derek Carr getting comfortable, receiving some calls from the headset through Clint Kubiak, kind of feel a little bit of what that's like, and then immediately get them off the field and then get started with with these other guys. And I think that like the core or the meat of the preseason is going to be all about Spencer Rattler, Jake Haener, guys like Jordan Mims and Isaiah Foskey showing, what they can do in their second year in the system and some of this other stuff. I think that that's going to be the kind of bigger focus this offseason or this preseason more than it is going to be about getting the starters ready, because you're not going to run your system, right? You're not going to go out there and run your brand new new shiny system for everybody to see in the preseason. You're going to save some of that stuff for the regular season. So it's the value really of putting out the starters for more than is necessary. It doesn't really feel like there is one. So I think for the most part, you're going to see a couple of starters. I imagine guys like Taliesin Fuanga as well as Trevor Penning getting some reps out there. That will be important for them. But I think for the most part, you're going to see this team either go immediately to its depth and get to those guys that are kind of jostling for position, or get there as quickly as they can.
He's on Twitter at Ross Jackson Nola. Give him a follow. I noticed your tweet about attendance for the camp, man. It's just when you see it written down, Ross. It's so many names, guys that either weren't there, were off to the side. As we make our way here toward the first preseason game, what does feel significant as far as health injuries at this point?
I think for me, the two that feel most significant, and look, the biggest names are guys like Demario Davis and Marshall Lattimore, Rashid Shaheed, I get that. But those guys, we've seen them off to the side. We've seen them present. Guys like Nick Saldiveri and Kendre Miller, we ain't seen in a minute. Mm-hmm. And so for me, like, those are kind of the bigger ones that are a little bit more concerning to me. As even Dennis Allen himself said the other week, look, if there was a game this weekend and we needed Demario Davis to play, they'd play. He'd play. That's kind of the way that they looked at it with Demario. And so I imagine there's a level of precaution. And I even asked Dennis Allen straight up about Rashid Shaheed, because there was sort of this temperature around Shaheed that, it was going to be, he was going to be kind of precautionary, and they were going to try to get him back sooner rather than later, and then we hadn't seen him up until then. And then now all of a sudden we're seeing him out at practices and things like that. So I look at the guys that we haven't seen anything of in a while. And so guys like Nick Saldiveri and Kendre Miller, who need to be out there fighting to make the roster, fighting for their spot on the roster, I think that for me is the bigger concern, or a couple of the bigger concerns of the guys that have been missing in practice.
I noticed you also highlighted a rough day for Trevor Penning. It's always interesting, Ross, whenever somebody either struggles, was Chase Young that good, or did Penning have a bad day? And how you sort of to marry those two thoughts. So you were there, you saw it. What was your thought on how that played out?
Yeah, I mean, I could say this. I didn't see Chase Young, win like that against other offensive linemen. At the same time, I didn't see Trevor Penning lose like that to other defensive linemen. So you can look at it either way. But in any case, it wasn't what Trevor Penning needed for the day, because he had also gotten into a fight earlier in camp, like earlier in the day, him and Nathan Shepard mixing it up a little bit. Willie Gay kind of involved on this Jamal Williams run. But it just felt like that fight happened, and then Trevor Penning mentally saw a little bit of a dip in practice. And I think, to me, that's the part that's most concerning. Get beat in the pass rush game and get beat in the pass block game all you want. Fine. You're gonna experience that over the course of camp. But not being able to show sort of the mental fortitude of being able to work your way through what was a little bit of a scuffle, that, to me, is the more concerning part. And maybe I'm overinflating it. That's totally fine. I would completely understand that. But it just felt like it was more about Penning in that situation than it was about Chase Young. And for me, that's a little bit concerning.
Who had a good day?
Jake Haener, Spencer Rattler both had good days, but I'll highlight the guys that caught their passes. Kevin Austin looked really good. Beat a couple of players, actually ended up beating Kool-Aid McKinstry on the outside for a deep pass, probably about 40-plus yards downfield, down the left. Then he ended up beating Rico Payton for a couple of plays that were touchdowns and an extra point in this end-of-game simulation led by Spencer Rattler. Then you go to the other side of it, and Samson Nakua again stood out as the contested catch guy. Big-bodied dude, just really has the ability to go up and get it. He ended up catching this big touchdown from Jake Haener in his end-of-game drive. His was about 1 minute and 40 left on the clock, had to march all the way from the opposite 35. And Nakua just made a big old catch, big leaping catch, came down hard on the ground, but got up just fine for the touchdown. So those guys and Cedric Wilson were big standouts for me, and it was good to see that from the wide receiver depth, which is a big part of what I'm excited to see this weekend.
I'm glad you mentioned Kool-Aid because I was going to ask about the rookies, because we just haven't talked outside of Fuanga. I'm not sure we've talked a ton about him, Ross. Are any rookies catching your eye?
Yeah, I mean, Kool-Aid's been the guy that has caught my eye. I'll be honest, I thought he had a little bit of a struggle, like a little bit of a struggle day today. But for the most part, him and Fuanga have been the two guys that have been the most consistent rookies for me. And up to a certain point, I considered Kool-Aid McKinstry the best rookie of the class. Now, bear in mind, we haven't been able to see Jalen Ford. We haven't been able to see Bub Means. But I'll tell you, another guy that's really standing out, too, is Christian Boyd, the late sixth-round pick defensive tackle. Just looks built to stop the run and performs that way, too. And so, losing a guy last year like Malcolm Roach, who was a really good run stopper, one of the better run stoppers in the NFL last year from the position, and losing him to Denver, if I remember correctly, that's a big loss in that area of the game where the Saints took a dip in terms of their run, their run defense and the production there. A guy like Christian Boyd, I think, can help you there. And he's been really, really consistent and really impressive all camp.
He is Ross Jackson, Locked on Saints. If you're not subscribed to the podcast, what are you waiting on? It's the best time. I mean, the year's getting started. He's been out in Irvine the whole time. Locked on Saints podcast, and, of course, part of our team as well now with LouisianaSports.net. Excited for that launch. Hopefully coming next week, a go-live date. We'll push the button. Hopefully next week we'll let you know when it happens. Ross, have a great weekend, man. We'll look forward to talking to you on Monday, recapping everything we see Saturday out in Arizona.
Absolutely, buddy. Looking forward to it. Take care, stay safe, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks so much for watching the video. Remember, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so you're notified whenever we post a new video. And our channel is powered by BetUS. 125% bonus on your first 3 deposits, up to $2,000. All the info and the link in the description below.